this way, so we do this.
Oh, that's right, we do this.
Yeah.
Ta-da. Are we live?
So I said, you are now live.
Hello, this is George.
Hey, Bonnie. Mwah.
And this is Adonai Sanctuary Truth Classroom. Now, tonight, where we just got through with Deuteronomy, which is the 5th book of the Bible, and that is the Torah. And before we get into Joshua, I sat down last week and I wrote out some stuff that I'm going to talk about tonight. I found this stuff in 23 different places in Scripture. And my honey's not going to read all 23. Matter of fact, she's not going to read any of them. If she did, she'd have to read like 56 verses. But we're going to give her a break tonight. Let's start out. Let me get another one.
They should have hit you over the air conditioner.
We say the word truth all the time. So let's look at a few that most religions twist or make up so people will follow them. See, that way you think it's in the Scripture. You start using their terms, so therefore it must be true. Hold on. Okay, we're going to get started right now. That was a little preview, because hello from Kentucky.
A.N.
What do we say all the time? Now remember, I went through Scripture and found 23 places that really spoke out to me, and I think Adonai wants me to say some things. I won't go over the verses, but here's what Adonai wanted me to write down. What do we say all the time? Study the Scripture for truth. There is a reason why we state that. It's not that we need your approval. Oh, no. But we do say grace and shalom to you and yours from Adonai. We all need his approval. It's astonishing that there are so many people who walk away so fast when biblical truth is brought to your attention. Even when we try to bring the true Messiah's name and his being to you, you turn to some falsification of name. That by history and the truth in Adonai's Scripture proves he was never called. In other words, you pervert the Messiah's good news that only Yeshua brings to you. See, by you following a made-up Messiah name, that is really contrary to the truth. You are showing Adonai and everybody you influence that it's to your, and when you influence them, to their damnation or their curse forever. Like we said, we neither look for or need your approval. Oh, but we want and need Adonai's approval. In reality, who can our teacher be? Is Tom having a problem?
Nope. Keep going.
Since we were as brainwashed by society as you are today. we talk about Adonai has opened up to us. And it's so simple and true if you study for truth. Don't let the world be your human approval. Let Adonai's truth be your approval. If we walk and believe in any name contrary to Adonai, then you are not, nor ever will be, Adonai's servant. So either you stand with Adonai's truth or have his curse that's on the world, on the earth. Scripture states what happens when you believe and follow that Hebrew Yeshua. He is the one who leads to, I like this, he is the one who leads to what should be your first love, Adonai. Most likely you have heard, in your younger years possibly, the song, "This the Light of Mine." Well, people don't let Adonai's light go dim, because the next step is no light at all. Yes, let Adonai's light be your guide before your light goes out. That's an interesting statement. Now remember, I found little hints of these in the actual writings in 23 different places in Scripture. Since the beginning of time, truth has stood the test. That's thousands and thousands of years.
Yeah.
We actually believe it's been millions and millions of years, and possibly billions of years. But people need to understand that one of the lying speeches to society is only 393 years old, when in reality, that is only a moment in time to Adonai. Have you ever thought about that?
True.
That 390-year-old falsification is only a moment of time to Adonai. Don't let society or any religion take away your moment of time. Trust and believe in Adonai. You have heard, in the beginning was the Word. And I know you know where I found that. We tell you the Word is Adonai. There is no other to put your trust in. Yes, Yeshua does have a path, but it's a path to his gate, in hopes that you reach Adonai's door. Then it's if Adonai opens his door. If he knows you. I underline that. If he knows you. Remember the parable about the 10 virgins. Now, without Yeshua, you never have that chance to get to the door. Yes, Yeshua is important, but not our ultimate goal. Most people have never ever thought about this. Adonai is the ultimate goal. Are you understanding the truth about that statement yet? And I put on here, repeat. Yeshua is important, but not our ultimate goal. Adonai is the ultimate goal. Think about that. People, if you go against Adonai, it will be like when Pharaoh wouldn't let Adonai's chosen people go. Only your destruction will be permanent after Yeshua returns. Think about it. Only your destruction will be permanent. When you listen to priests who distort truth and they whitewash their messages with half-truth, they are lying. That's a strong statement. Now this next part is just to the priest. Now, ready? We wish you would show compassion for your people in most circumstances and be silent. Then you priests would be showing great wisdom without spreading the falsification. If you only hear their half-truth, this is to the people now, if you only hear their half-truth and you refuse to study, well then you're as bad as those priests. Back to the priests. Priests, don't break your personal vow you have made to Adonai. Why don't you keep your word and teach your people the true name of the Messiah, which is Yeshua, and keep your oath to teach the true name of the God, Adonai. All others mean nothing to your people. So why do you do it? Oh, those imitational names may bring you fame and money, but at your cost and your people's damnation. That's a strong statement.
Yeah.
When you look at the age of a man, do you see the wisdom from Adonai or the shell of a man who has never told the truth? When you watch your priest. Now that's another interesting statement. Do you see the 20-year-olds, up to 80-year-olds walking and teaching the darkness of the world, made-up religion? The abundance of years should speak wisdom, yet wisdom isn't coming to those so-called great world leaders. You have to listen to reasoning, search for that wisdom, find Adonai's truth. People, you do not need parables. You have the truth laying open in front of you, yet you stop from finding your first love.
Tell us what you're cutting in and out.
Rats.
Well, and it could be because there's a storm in the area.
When you get sidetracked by the worldly push for you to follow any and all falsified documents. Sorry about that, folks. There are individuals who look their whole life without finding, because they have never been guided by Adonai's called person. And now they listen with no real understanding, therefore they never turn or are forgiven. Now that is an interesting statement. When you listen without no real understanding, you never really turn or are forgiven. What does Adonai want you to take from that writing? People, pay attention to even what you hear and what you speak, for that is a good message for your eternity and of your eternity. If it's false, you have already received your reward.
But keep going, it comes back.
If your ears hear and your mouth speaks truth, then your reward is waiting for Yeshua's return for your eternity. Don't let anyone, don't let them flatter you into their damnation or fabricate the words of Adonai for your demise. When they lead you, are you telling Adonai? When they lead you, are you telling Adonai you don't want to study for truth? So don't tell us or show us truth. We like it our way by being happy and hell-bound.
That's a good statement.
In other words, aren't you saying, Adonai, get out of our way? We'll walk our own path, even if through Scripture we walk away from the Holy One. Yes, that's you, Adonai. Scary, isn't it? Look around
Terrifying.
you. Look around you. How many even want you to study if you don't line up with their church or religion? But you want and line up with Scripture. So don't line up with their denominational philosophy or church doctrine. Do you speak like the Pharisees and say, we must be under a curse? We don't follow their laws, rules, and regulations. So don't do that one thing we tell you to study and to find only Adonai's truth. Shaul, or Paul, the Apostle Paul, was one like most people today. That's an interesting statement. Have you ever looked at it that way?
Yeah.
He put his stamp of approval on their falsification back then like society does today. Yet he was called by Adonai and Yeshua to change his world. Are you called to change your world one step at a time? You are given light to get out of your darkness. Are you studying to get out of your darkness, or listening to the same people to hold you onto your own darkness?
Wow.
The only start through that darkness is with the truth about Yeshua. Now, that's an interesting statement. The only start is through that darkness with the truth about Yeshua. Mm-hmm. When he said, I am the way, he is.
Yep.
When he said he is the life, he's right. And no one gets to the Father by any other means but by Yeshua.
Yep.
Yet how many have ever heard of his real name? Not many. And if you did, you ignored it. If you don't know him, this is a good one. I want you to listen to this one. I hope this isn't breaking it out, because this is a good one.
Looks good.
If you know him, how can if you don't know him, how can he be your way? Think about that one little statement. If you worship one of those other falsificational names and you never know Yeshua, in other words, if you don't know him, how can he be your way?
Not possible.
How many people, through a falsificational doctrine, lead and even direct you to walk away from the truth for their truth? In other words, their falsificational desires. As Scripture states, with their deceit, they must really hate Yeshua for no reason. With their deceit. If they don't want to advertise Yeshua, they don't want to believe in Yeshua. Well, if they don't want to believe in Yeshua, then that one statement, if you don't know him, how can he be your God, your way? Should you and yours be asking like Pilate did? And I found this when he talked to Yeshua. He asked him, "What did you do?" What did Yeshua do to you that you would and still are rejecting his real name? Therefore, you are rejecting him. Here's another piece of paper. Now, people, we're asking you, do you think or believe or desire? Do you speak of truth when you have no truth? Do you live for shalom in your world? In other words, is there peace, tranquility, safety, well-being, welfare, health, contentment, success, comfort, wholeness, and integrity in and with Adonai? That is what shalom is. Or do you walk your own walk without shalom? What were you going to say?
Yeah, you're right. There's a lot to that word that people don't realize.
People, you must stand firm with Adonai and his scripture, or fall with the leading of man. You must hold on to the truth or follow the traditions of man. We hope the ending for you is to stand firm for Adonai. Don't ask, where did this person come from? No, ask, is he bringing truth out of the scripture? Or is it from his denominational doctrine? Don't look at him and ask, is or was he a professor or a factory worker? Where did he come from? Where was he when Adonai called? Don't take offense or look for don't take offense or look for a lot of miracles. That's what a lot of people try to do.
Yeah.
The real joy is that he listened. And he is trying to get you to hear as much truth as he can before he's called away. Remember, when you find the truth, Adonai's truth, not ours, it's in the scripture, it will set you free. People, if you're good at anything, take it as a means to your earthly existence. Because that's all it is. Even if you're making billions. And it has so very little to do with any determination for your eternity. As people, so many people put everything into their job, their business, sports figures, and and they're all advertised as being something special. Well, we're telling you people, believe in Adonai. Trust Adonai. Live in Adonai and praise Adonai. Yes, people, praise Adonai. And we want you to listen to this last part. We say, see, we're not strong enough to be your guide. Not good enough to be your teacher. Not spiritual enough to be your priest. But we are smart enough to follow Adonai. And we hope you walk away from the brainwashing of the world to that small road. Get in that tiny gate. And when and if you get the opportunity to knock on Adonai's door, he opens it for you. People, that door entrance is the ultimate. It's the only goal that will ever count. And that means forever. Now remember, those were hints by 23 different places in Scripture. And it doesn't say that you have to believe what we say. But I'm telling you, take some of this to heart and study yourself. It's all in there. And this part we just put in our own words. Guided by what we believe is Adonai.
Definitely.
People mean a lot to us. We aren't that powerful, not that smart, but we're smart enough to follow Adonai. We hope you have a great week. And as an old person used to say that we used to talk to every once in a while, creek don't rise, we'll see you next week. We hope you have a great time. Study the Word. Don't just listen to us or listen to your priest. You need to study yourself, because that's what's really going to count for you. Remember, Yeshua and the road and his gate is not your ultimate goal. Getting to knock on Adonai's door and him knowing you, that is the ultimate goal. If it isn't, you're barking up the wrong tree. You have a great week. Goodbye.